The richest retiree on your street probably doesn't look rich. No new truck in the driveway, no designer anything. He drives a 10-year-old sedan, wears a watch he's had since the 90s, and he is, without question, the most financially free person on the block. Meanwhile, the neighbor with the shiny new everything is quietly lying awake at night, doing math, counting the months until it all runs out. Here's what almost nobody tells you. The retirees who stay genuinely wealthy aren't the ones who earn the most. They're the ones who, somewhere along the way, quietly stop buying a specific list of things. Not out of cheapness, out of clarity. And this is the part that matters because I know what you're thinking. This isn't about clipping coupons or depriving yourself. The opposite. Every single thing on this list, they stopped buying so they could afford the things that actually make a life rich. They stopped buying what shows. They started buying what lasts. So let's walk through the 7. Some of them are going to sting a little. The first thing wealthy retirees stop buying is the new car every few years. Not cars are fine. The habit, the trade-in every 3 years, always have the latest model habit because they understand something most people feel but never calculate. A new car is the fastest way to set money on fire that exists in normal life. Drive a new car off the lot and it loses about 20% of its value almost immediately. Within 5 years, it's lost well over half. You bought a payment and the payment bought air. So the wealthy retiree does something boring and brilliant. He buys a good, reliable car, slightly used, and he drives it for 10, 12, 15 years. The neighbor sees an old car and thinks, he can't afford a new one. The truth is the exact reverse. He can easily afford a new one. He just did the math on what that new car habit costs across a 30-year retirement, saw a number with a lot of zeros, and decided his freedom was worth more than a fresh badge on the hood. David never ran that math. Every 3 years, a new lease, a new payment, a new way to look successful in the driveway. Susan drove the same paid-off car for a decade and quietly put the difference toward the only thing she actually wanted: more open road on her own terms. The second thing they stop buying is status itself. The logo, the brand name, the thing whose entire job is to be seen by other people. And here's the uncomfortable truth underneath it. The one researchers found when they actually studied the wealthy. In the famous research behind The Millionaire Next Door, they discovered that most real millionaires don't look like it at all. They drive ordinary cars. They wear ordinary watches. They live in ordinary houses. The flashy spenders? A huge share of them aren't wealthy at all. They're financing an image, because status is a purchase, and it's the worst one there is. You're not buying a thing. You're buying other people's approval, and that approval has to be repurchased over and over, forever. There is no version where you finally own it. The wealthy retiree figured out that the most expensive thing you can buy is the need to impress people who aren't thinking about you anyway. The day she stopped paying for that, 2 things happened. Her expenses dropped, and a low hum of pressure she'd carried her whole life just went quiet. She didn't feel poor. She felt free. The third thing they stopped buying is square footage they don't use. The big house made sense once. Kids, noise, a table that needed every chair. But the kids are gone, and now there's a 4-bedroom house where 2 people live in about 3 rooms, and the other rooms aren't free. You're still paying for them every single day, in property taxes, in insurance, in heating and cooling empty space, in the slow drip of maintenance on rooms nobody walks into. Wealthy retirees do the unsentimental thing. They look at the house not as a monument to the life they had, but as a cost they're still paying for a life that already moved on. And many of them downsize on purpose, while it's still their choice and not a crisis. They trade square footage they don't use for something they actually want. Lower costs, less upkeep, often a chunk of equity freed up, and the simple lightness of a home that fits the life they have now. David kept the big house. It felt like success, and it slowly ate his cash flow from the inside. Susan moved to something smaller and brighter, freed up real money, and used a wall she didn't need to fund a year she'd remember. The fourth thing they stopped buying is the most invisible and the most expensive: other people's opinions. So much of what we spend isn't for us, it's for the audience. The vacation that has to look right in the photos, the upgrade because the neighbor upgraded, the whole exhausting game of keeping up, where every time someone else's standard goes up, yours has to follow, or you feel like you're falling behind. The wealthy retiree quietly resigns from that game. Not loudly, not with a speech. They just stop letting other people's choices write their checks. And the moment they do, their spending finally starts matching their actual life instead of a comparison to someone else's. Here's the freedom hiding in it. When you stop buying other people's opinions, you get to find out what you actually want for the first time in decades. Not what looks successful, not what keeps pace, what you want. Most people never get there because they never stop paying the entry fee to a competition no one can win. The fifth thing they stop buying is the slow, invisible upgrade of everything. Lifestyle creep. This one is sneaky because no single piece of it feels like a problem. The subscriptions you forgot you have. The "I'll just get the nicer one" that became automatic. The convenience markup on 100 small things. The standard of living that quietly ratcheted up every time your income did, so that no matter how much came in, the same amount went out. Wealthy retirees are strangely relaxed about big purchases and weirdly serious about small leaks, because they know the small leaks are where retirements actually drown. A handful of forgotten subscriptions and casual upgrades doesn't feel like much in a month. Stretched across a 30-year retirement, it's a number that can genuinely change the day you run out. So they audit, not in a painful, joyless way. They just periodically ask one question of every recurring expense. Is this still buying me something I actually value? Or is it just running in the background because I never turned it off? Everything that fails the question goes. And what's left is spending that's awake and on purpose. The sixth thing they stop buying is stuff for a someday that never comes. The gear for the hobby you'll start eventually. The clothes for the body you're planning to have. The equipment, the gadget, the thing on sale that you don't need now but might want later. It feels like planning ahead. It's usually just buying clutter and calling it optimism. The wealthy retiree learned a hard, simple lesson, often the same one that haunts people at the end. Later is not a guarantee. The garage full of someday projects, the closet of someday clothes, the boxes of someday, they aren't an investment in the future. They're money converted into things you have to store, insure, and eventually have someone clean out. So they stop buying for the imaginary future version of themselves and start spending on the real one that exists right now. Not more stuff, more life, while there's still plenty of life to spend it on. The seventh thing they stop buying is the one that costs the most and shows the least. Financial products they don't actually understand. The complicated annuity a salesman swore was perfect. The high-fee fund tucked inside the retirement account. The sophisticated product with a glossy brochure and a layer of charges nobody quite explained. And here is the number that should make you sit up. A fee of just 1% a year doesn't sound like much. Across a 30-year retirement, that 1% can quietly eat a quarter or more of what your money could have become. 1% compounding against you every year silently. Wealthy retirees develop a simple, almost rude rule. If they can't explain in one plain sentence how a product works and exactly what it costs them, they don't buy it. They're not impressed by complexity. They're suspicious of it because in their experience, complexity in a financial product is usually just a place to hide a fee. David bought the impressive-sounding product and never read the fine print. Susan kept her money in things so simple they were almost boring, low-cost, transparent, understandable. And over 30 years, boring quietly won. So step back and look at the 7 things together. The new car, the status, the oversized house, the opinions, the creep, the someday stuff. The products nobody understands. Notice what every single one of them has in common. They were all, in one way or another, things you buy to be seen, to look successful, to keep up, to impress an audience that, it turns out, was never really watching. That's the secret hiding under all of it. Wealthy retirees didn't get free by buying more. They got free by quietly stepping out of the game where you have to keep buying to prove you're okay. They stopped paying for the appearance of a rich life and used the difference to fund an actual one. 2 people retired with the same money. David kept buying what showed and spent his retirement looking wealthy and feeling anxious. Susan stopped and used what she saved on time, travel, her grandkids, her own peace, and never once worried about running out. One bought the image of wealth, the other bought the real thing, freedom. So here's the only question that matters. Look honestly at what you spend and ask of each piece of it, is this for me or is this for the audience? Everything that's truly for you, keep and enjoy without guilt. But the rest, the part that's just for show, that's not wealth leaving your life. That's wealth finally coming home.